Actually, I was pretty much of a juvenile delinquent when I was a kid, back east. And out of the blue, the director of our high school play came up to me one day and said, "Do you want to be in this play?" And it happened to be Oklahoma. It was a musical. And he wanted me to play Jed Fry. So I said, "Sure, I got nothing to do."
Yeah, I'm listening.
It saved my life. It really saved my life. Had I not become an actor, I'd have been dead years ago.
Hey, scumbag.
My name's Carmine, fucko.
Yeah, well, Carmine, today's your lucky day.
I get this call from a casting person in New York. And I was in LA. And she said, "I'd like to meet you." And I said, "Okay." So I go in for the meeting. And she said, "You know, John, I'm doing this film that there's nothing in it for you. But I really wanted to meet you. But there's absolutely nothing in this film for you." And I said, "Well, that's fine." She said, "I saw your production of True West. You and Eddie were just fantastic." And I said, "Well, what's the film?" And she said, "Beverly Hills Cop." When we started that film, Taggart and Rosewood were very, very small parts. And they'd shoot Judge and I sitting in the car, you know, drinking coffee and looking up in the room and stuff like that. So, you know, Marty would shoot that for 2 or 3 takes. Okay, we got that. Then Marty would come over and go, "Why don't you guys start ad-lib?" Because he liked the stuff I was doing in the audition, so guys start ad-libbing stuff. So they roll the cameras, and Judge happened to have a magazine that he was reading in between takes, for real. So they roll the cameras, and Judge opens the magazine, he goes, "Wow. Did you know that by the time you're 50 years old, there's 12 pounds of undigested meat in your system?" And I looked at him, I said, "Why are you telling me that? What makes you think I have any interest in that at all?" And he goes, "Well, you eat a lot of meat." And they left it in. I mean, Marty was wonderful that way. So our relationship and our characters built over the time, and we become co-stars of the film, you know, and originally they weren't very big parts. Segue, a couple of years later, now we'll get into Midnight Run. A wonderful, wonderful actor, and the best breakdown script person I ever met in my life, who has since died, bless his soul, Alan Vint. I'm at a play. I'm going to see Joey Pants in a play, Joey Pantaleona. And we're at intermission, and Alan comes over to me, and he says, "Have you read Midnight Run yet?" And I said, "No, what's that?" And he goes, "It's a movie they're doing." He said, "You're perfect for it." And I said, "I haven't heard anything about it." And he said, "Well, you get the script and read." And he said, "You're perfect for this. You got to do this." So I call my agent and stuff, and I get the script and I read it, and I said, "Man, I got to do this," you know. Marty's directing it, right? So I call Marty, we have a meeting and stuff, and he said, "Yeah, you'd be good in this. You'd be really good in this." And I'm waiting for him to offer me the role, you know. And he goes, "Well, yeah, you'd be really good in this." And I said, "Yeah, and?" And he goes, "No." So he said, you audition for it?" And I said, "What do you mean audition for it?" And he goes, "Well, Bob wants to audition with everybody," which is wonderful. And you don't see a lot of stars doing that. And Bobby's wonderful that way. And he wanted to read with everybody. And he was there for it. It's not like you're reading with a casting director. You're reading with him. So I go into the audition. And Marty, of course, I knew Marty, and George Gallo was there, the writer, who wrote a great script. And so, you know, they're all in the room, and I'm outside waiting to go in, and there's 30 guys out there reading for Dorfler. And they're all pacing up and down the hallways, and, "Oh God, I gotta read with Bob," you know, and they're like freaking out. And I was so excited, you know, because I'm a stage actor. I couldn't wait to get in there. And I knew that role was mine. And I said, "Nobody's taking this role from me. Nobody's taking this role from me." And there were some pretty good actors in that hallway. So I get my turn, I go in. And George Gallo, the writer, and Marty and producers, and everybody's sitting in there. Bob is sitting there. Hi, nice to meet you, and blah, blah. So we small talk for 15 seconds or 20 seconds, and Marty said, hold on a minute, I gotta go do something. And he gets up and leaves with George, and I know and Marty hasn't admitted this, but I know he just wanted to leave me and Bob alone. So they all leave, and so Bob and I sit there and chat for 2-3 minutes and stuff. So they come back in and we start reading this scene. And we got the script, and Bob says, well, here, and he goes to hand me something in the middle of the reading, and I go to reach for it, and he dropped it on the floor. As I tried to grab it, he dropped it on the floor. And he just stared at me. And I looked down on it, and I looked up at him, and I said, fuck you. And he said, fuck you too. I said, fuck you. Like he wanted me to pick it up. I said, I ain't picking that fucking thing up, fuck you. But we did it in character, you know? And, okay, cut. Well, I got it. And I found out later, from George, actually told me, when I walked out of the room, Bobby said, I want him. Because I'll bet you that every other actor picked it up and handed it to him. Here you go. Sorry, Mr. De Niro. And I looked at him and said, fuck you.
Okay, Marvin, what the hell are we fighting for? We're friends.
Hey, nothing personal, Jack, but fuck off, all right?
And that's why I really wanted to do it, because trust me, after Beverly Hills Cop came out, I was taggart. I was taggart to the world. I was taggart to Hollywood. I was taggart to anybody who would ever listen. I walk in a golf course, hey, Taggart, you know, he's like, and it was killing me as an actor. It was killing me as an actor, because I was a character actor. I mean, I did a lot of stage. I did theater at the Edinburgh Arts Festival, and did repertory theater in Germany and Scotland and England, and all of a sudden I'm freaking Taggart, you know? I mean, and I love the character, don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to be known as Taggart the rest of my life. And when that came up, I just said, this is such a dichotomy and such an opposite of Taggart that I want that, you know, for my career and for my life, you know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got the whole fucking force after me, huh?
Bob came up to me and he said, I met this bounty hunter, a real bounty hunter in New York. He said, let's go out with him. So I said, okay. So Bob goes out with him one night. I go out with the guy the other night. Every other word out of the guy's mouth was fuck. I mean, fuck the fucking thing and the fucking. And so, I mean, I'm out with the guy till like 3 a.m, this bounty, and his license plate was, well, I probably shouldn't say that, but I mean, he was not hiding the fact that he was a bounty hunter. And he had all these radios and stuff in his car, and we'd go from bar to bar to bar to bar to bar, you know, and he was always looking for somebody and doing stuff, and fuck. I was going, and I'm trying to get, but you know, he had some wardrobe and stuff on him that like chains and stuff. I said, well, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that from this, and so I got the chain thing on, and I got the ring and stuff, and I said, oh, I'll use that. So I wore that little horseshoe ring in the movie and stuff, and the guy was a trip. So 3 a.m, he goes, he gets a radio call, and he's got to go to some drug bust down in Brooklyn or somewhere, you know. And I go, you know what? I think I got enough material. You go to the drug bust, drop me off at the hotel.
Did Eddie put you on this?
Of course Eddie put me on this.
Son of a bitch. You know I have a contract with him?
Did a contract?
Yeah, I signed it on Monday.
You called me in Pittsburgh. You said you were fucking this thing up.
I'm not fucking anything up.
So Bob and I had our fuck meter, right? I mean, we wanted to be true to the characters, but you see a lot of movies where there's just gratuitous fucks in it, you know? And we didn't want that. We wanted to use them when they meant something, you know? And so we had a fuck meter. And our fuck meter was Frank Pesci in Beverly Hills Cop. And if you remember in the beginning when Eddie got the cigarettes in the back of the truck in Beverly Hills Cop, And Frankie comes in, and Eddie goes, well, I thought you wanted, I was going to get 5,000. He says, oh, we only got 2,000, whatever the lines were. And he says, and Frankie says, take the fucking $2,000. And Bobby and I both said, one too many fucks. There's one too many fucks in that. Take the fucking $2,000. He said, it should be, take the fucking $2,000, or take the $2,000, but not take the fucking $2,000. There's one too many fucks in that. So that was our fuck me.
You give me a fucking get back out, Marvin! Don't fuck me, Jack!
Honest to God, we would do a scene, and Bobby would look at me, or I'd look at Bobby, we go, too many fucks? And they go, no, I think it was the right many fucks. That was.
I just want to ask you a few questions, that's all.
Yeah, fucking A, help yourself.
Well, I chose to smoke Camels. You know, I wanted to be tough, you know. You got to smoke Camels. Well, you know, and I should have known this, being an actor, should have known that, okay, cut, let's do it again. Then you got to match your size of it, so you got to light a new one. And I would smoke like 3 or 4 packs a day. And I didn't smoke, you know, and I was like, oh, I smoke cigars, but I was, at the end of the day, I went, oh, what a bad choice that was, man. So I was smoking. But we were shooting that scene in the airport, right? And Marty Brest played the airline ticket guy. That's Marty. So that's why I love Marty. So I got a cigarette. You know, you could smoke in the airport then. So I got a cigarette, and Marty ad-libs the line to me, because there was, you know, it was like 2 tickets to LA, boom, or 1 ticket to LA, or whatever. So I'm smoking, and Marty goes, will I be smoking or not smoking? And I said, take a wild guess. I mean, we had a really good time on that film. I mean, we really became a family on that film.
See you in L.A., Marvin. Watch your cigarettes with this guy, Jack.
When they were dragging me out, and I said, watch your cigarettes with that guy, Jack, you know, with Yaphet, you know, because he's always bumming cigarettes from me. And that happened in real life. We were out having dinner. George and I were out having dinner, and George bummed a cigarette. George was always bumming cigarettes, right? So he bummed a cigarette off me at dinner, right? And I said, why don't you quit? It'd be cheaper for both of us, you know? So he said, that's a great fucking line.
Why don't you quit? Be cheaper for both of us.
That's why Marty's such a great director. He trusts you and he lets you do that. And you know, it's a camera, it's film. We can cut it. If it doesn't work, we'll cut it. Don't worry. So, I mean, as an actor, man, you just feel so free. You know, I mean, I can do anything. They can cut it.
Now you listen, you son of a bitch. I want answers, and I want them right now.
What do you want from me? I don't know nothing.
George Gallo wrote such a great script. Man, you have that blueprint. I mean, it's just, wow, man, I can really now just like my character.
Who the fuck are you guys?
Who the fuck are you?
Dorfler was really a real scumbag in the original script. I mean, a real scum. And I didn't see him that way when I read it. I read him as, this is my fucking job, you're in my way. And he was an honest piece of shit. You know?
Hello, Jack. You dumb shit.
But I didn't see him as a scumbag. I saw him as a guy trying to do his job. In the original script, Dorfler gets killed in Vegas. Boom, they off him. So we're about 2 months into shooting, and the studio's seeing all the dailies and stuff. So they come up to me, and I forget where we were at that time, in Pennsylvania or Chicago or someplace. And they said, we can't kill Dorfler. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, we're afraid that the audience is really going to be pissed if, you know, because Dorfler's kind of a likable guy, you know. And if we kill him, we're afraid we're going to lose the audience, you know. And Marty comes over and talks to me about it. He said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, it's fine with me, and, you know. So now George Gallo has got to go rewrite from that point on in the film to the end and leave me in where I come in at the end at the airport and screw everything up and do all that stuff. Best film I ever did. Best film experience I ever had. Bar none. And the family that we got to become over 6 months, you know, because you're 14 hours on the set every day and you're going out to dinner every night. I mean, that was your family. They asked me to do the advice to the undergraduate speech in my high school in 1966, and that was right in the middle of the Vietnam War, and that's when I decided to become an actor. Right in the middle of the Vietnam War, my brother was in Vietnam at the time, he was a helicopter pilot, and I got up at the graduation and I gave the advice to the undergraduate speech. And it was kind of a funny speech, you know, giving them bad advice and stuff. And I saw that group of people out there, and for an hour, they got to escape from all the bullshit that was happening in the world. And they got into that one room for an hour and a half, and got to escape. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to take people away from their shit in their life and take them to another place. And that's when I became an actor. And movies are escape. And that's why I love Marty so much. He let you escape. Get into character. Have some fun.